Sam, let me ask you this. I think what Gary just said is outstanding. I did a lot of reading recently on Dabo Swinney's life. His mother, Carol, had polio, and from the time she was little until she was in her early teen years, she lived basically confined to a bed. But just because of her sheer determination, as well as some doctor's medication and some physicians' help, she was able actually to become a drum majorette in her high school. As she went into adulthood, of course, she got married. She and her husband have Dabo as a son. She goes through a divorce. She actually ended up being evicted from her home. Dabo Swinney went to the University of Alabama as a walk-on wide receiver. He played for Coach Gene Stallings, who himself was a wonderful Christian, had an impeccable Christian testimony. Gene Stallings had a Down syndrome son that went with him to practice every single day. Dabo Swinney watched that when he was a player. That caused him, even to this day at Clemson, to have a young man by the name of David Smith, who's Down syndrome, as Clemson's equipment manager, and they treat that young man like a king. He's a part of the team. The players love on him. The coach loves on him. So what I'm trying to get at, Sam, is this. Dabo Swinney did not have the kind of background that a lot of people would say would equip him for the visionary leader that he has become and the stalwart witness for Christ that he's become. But he watched a lot of things in his coach at Alabama, Gene Stallings. So my question to you is this. How important is it for future leaders to see modeled in front of them visionary leadership by those that are their mentors? I mean, is that vitally important? Is it totally unimportant? I mean, talk about that, if you would, for just a second.
Dave, I can recall my mother, when I was growing up, said to my siblings, she said, you know, boys and my sister, everybody in life has heroes. Now, it could be a hero on the basketball court. It could be a hero in the media. It could be a hero on TV. But, you know, she said, choose a hero from the Bible, because those that God puts there tells us all about him. He establishes it. And you know what? I chose Daniel and Joseph as heroes in my life. And we'll get into all of that. But the point of it is, every person who's listening to me right now, all of us, could probably point to one or more people who had a more profound influence on who they have become, perhaps more than anyone else. And maybe it was because they had a vision of something that was bigger than themselves. Maybe it was because of the way they lived, but something about them influenced us. And that really kind of gets into this. That's a role model. You know, we try to tell our kids, you know, don't be influenced by peer pressure, a wrong role model. Pick a good one. Pick one that is going to elevate you. And so, Dave, the answer is yes. Whether we like it or not, we all have had a role model and have picked somebody, consciously or not consciously. And I tell my own kids, believe it or not, be careful how you act, because you are a role model for somebody else. Somebody is looking at your life and patterning their life after you. So to that extent, Dave, they're in that category of a role model. It's important. We either are one, a good one, or a bad one, or we have followed one, a good one or a bad one. It's critical.